radical nationalism. Some Muslims fell under the influence of the Western ideologies imposed upon them. This played a role in the fragmentation of the great Islamic states, especially the Ottoman Empire. With the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, the great majority of Muslims found themselves colonized by Western powers. Before the colonialists withdrew decades later, they drew up artificial borders. When combined with the radical nationalism disseminated among Muslims, the region turned into a quagmire. Ethnic differences within some Muslim communities became sources of conflict. The different Muslim ethnic groups who had lived in the same land until recently suddenly found themselves living on different sides of these artificial borders. Soon, these artificial nations began disputing with each other over borders and other matters, and feelings of hostility arose. A 100-year-long period of instability had begun. Today, union has still not been established in the Islamic world, and a great many Islamic countries are struggling with political, economic, or social problems. This, in turn, is one of the major obstacles to a helping hand being extended to needy Muslims. As in Palestine, Kashmir, East Turkestan, Moro, and a great many other places. Today, millions of innocent Muslims are oppressed in these occupied regions. Millions of needy women, children, and the elderly are waiting to be saved from oppression. Moreover, there is great poverty, hunger, and backwardness in some Muslim countries today. One of the main reasons why no permanent solution has been able to be found to these problems is that the Muslims of the world are far from enjoying unity. In fact, however, all Muslims are responsible for protecting the rights of other Muslims and meeting their needs. Islamic moral values require Muslims always to act in a spirit of unity, to engage in solidarity and cooperation, and to be brothers in religion. As God has revealed in the Quran, the believers are brothers. In the Quran, God reveals that there will be terrible chaos in the world in the absence of Muslim union. Those who do not believe are the friends and protectors of one another. If you do not act in this way, protect each other, there will be turmoil in the land and great corruption. Until the Second World War, most Muslim countries were European colonies. Some of them had to undertake wars of liberation to gain their independence. This situation changed the look of Islamic geography. However, the real change took place after the Cold War ended. Until then, the Islamic world was considered in terms of Africa and Asia. Now, it has become more of a Eurasian affair, with Albania and Bosnia to the west, and Chechnya and Tajikistan to the east. In the 1980s, Turkey was the only Muslim country represented in the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Now, there are 9. On the other hand, a great many Muslims began migrating to various European countries and America from the early part of the 20th century on. considerable Muslim populations developed in these lands. This, in turn, increased the extent of the Islamic world. Today, Islam is the fastest growing religion in America and many European countries. The present-day Islamic world, with its 1.2 billion population, represents a major power with its underground wealth and strategic importance. It is also in a region where crossroads and transit routes of world trade are located. The straits and canals joining the Black and Mediterranean Seas, the Mediterranean Sea with the Persian Gulf, and the Persian Gulf with the Indian Ocean, as well as the main transit points in the Indian Ocean, are all under Muslim control. In terms of strategic underground reserves, such as oil and natural gas, the world's wealthiest lands are part of the Islamic region. Roughly half of the oil consumed in the West is exported from the Islamic world, as is 40% of the world's agricultural production. The Persian Gulf holds 2/3 of the planet's discovered crude oil reserves. Saudi Arabia alone holds 25.4% of the world's oil reserves, or 262 billion barrels. Moreover, the Middle East has 40% of the global natural gas reserves. 35% of those reserves are in the Gulf region. Algeria, Libya, and the Central Asian countries also possess very rich resources. Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan are two of the world's leading gold producers. Turkey has one of the world's richest boron reserves. Tajikistan has the world's largest aluminum producing facilities. However, many Islamic countries still face major problems despite all this wealth. On the one hand are technological, cultural, and economic problems, and on the other are oppressive regimes in some of these countries. In the Islamic world, 86% of the population's living standards fall below $2,000, 76% under $1,000, and 67% under $500 per year. When the Islamic world's total resources are considered, this is quite a paradox. And this distorted picture shows why an Islamic Union needs to be established. The Islamic world can only achieve balanced economic development by means of an Islamic Union. Integration in production, trade, science, and technology among Muslim countries will permit underdeveloped nations to make rapid progress, and those with the necessary means and infrastructure to use these in the most productive manner possible. More productive use of the Islamic world's natural resources will permit Islamic countries to exchange the goods they produce and workforce potentials as productively as possible. Many charitable and international organizations are actively seeking to assist poor and suffering Islamic nations. However, their efforts usually do not go beyond delivering aid packages to the affected regions. And this aid often does not reach its intended recipients due to the failures of the underdeveloped nation's system and their mafia or gang-type organizations. All of these must be eradicated, and a new mentality based on conscience and common sense must be nurtured through mass education campaigns. This can only be possible by means of an Islamic Union with the entire Islamic world's resources, power, and conscience behind it. The European Union may be a model for the Islamic Union. The European Union is noted being an entity in which member state sovereignty, system of governance, and state bureaucracy continue their functions under the